guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. It's that time of the week again. It's Premier League predictions time in what is a slightly reduced fixture list this weekend than what we are used to seeing, and that is obviously because the Carabao Cup final is taking place on Sunday at Wembley between Liverpool and Newcastle, but we still have 8 Premier League encounters for us to sink our teeth into and to feast our eyes upon for this weekend. And of course, this is the video where we're going to be talking about each and every single one of those games, analysing them, and of course giving my predictions on how I think each and every single game will turn out. Before we get into all of that though, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you are new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And I also encourage you to get involved in the conversation, get involved with the prediction side of things especially. Give me your thoughts, give me your predictions, feelings, opinions, whatever you want to call it, that I'm sure will make for great and interesting reading. But mainly, of course, where would a Premier League predictions video be after all that, your predictions, people? So please do get involved down below. Right, now that that's out of the way and done with, let's get on with the video. Let's talk Premier League predictions. And we're starting with Everton against West Ham for our Saturday lunchtime game at Goodison Park. Everton await the arrival of the London club, and I've gone with a 1-1 draw for this one. Now, both of these sides obviously having new managers, they are safe and sound. There's no jeopardy of relegation. There is no real expectation of them climbing up the table into a European place. So this one is pretty much a safe encounter, really, in which both teams can go out there a little less pressure than they normally would, enjoy the football, and maybe have a great game in prospect. I've gone with a 1-1 draw because I feel like the lack of intensity may allow that. I also feel like either one of these sides could go on and win it. They definitely have the match winners in this environment to go on and win this game. But it's going to be interesting to see because obviously both of these teams under their either new or, in Everton's case, returning manager. David Moyes has had a fantastic start to life back at Goodison Park with Everton. West Ham have had a bit of an inconsistent start with Graham Potter, but obviously things may continue to progress as time goes on. We wait and see. If you want to add a little bit of extra narrative as well to this, obviously this is David Moyes going up against his old club again in West Ham. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of reception he gets. I would imagine it's going to be a nice one, considering that he won them a European Cup in the form of the Europa Conference League, but obviously we don't really know that for sure. So that adds a little bit of an extra narrative to it. It's going to be an interesting battle. I think it's going to be one of these kinds of games where both of these teams try to give the fans something a little bit of a boost towards for future seasons to come. Maybe a little bit of excitement towards next season, maybe. To try and plant that seed in the minds of the fans. But it's going to be interesting to see how they both approach this game. I'm going 1-1. I think this will go down the middle. I think the points will be shared. But like I say, both teams have the capabilities of winning this one. So it's going to be anybody's game, really. And I'm really much looking forward to seeing the way that this one plays out on Saturday. Next up, Ipswich Town go up against Nottingham Forest. Both teams needing the points in this one. Ipswich obviously 6 points away from Premier League safety. They need to get some points on the board if they are to have any hope of Premier League survival this season. Whilst Nottingham Forest could have the opportunity to go 1 point behind Arsenal. Put the pressure on Arsenal, who are in second place right now. And obviously with them playing on Sunday, it means they could go 1 point behind Arsenal for a matter of hours before potentially losing that 1 point gap, with obviously Arsenal playing Chelsea on Sunday. Going to be an interesting battle. It's going to be one that I do feel like Forest will have the capabilities, the quality, the talent of winning. I just think they'll have enough to break down an Ipswich defence, which I think is obviously still battling, but is kind of also on the side of we know our fate. We know our fate for this season. Regardless, they will still battle like they have done for everything this season. I still think that they will make a tough game of it, but I think in the end the quality of Nottingham Forest will shine through. I do feel like Forest will take the incentive. The win that they picked up last week against Manchester City will obviously be a boost, but the incentive as well to go 1 point behind Arsenal, solidify themselves even more so in the top four. And And yeah, it's going to be an incredible, fantastic season for Nuno Espirito Santo's side regardless, but it could get even better if they win on Saturday at 3 o'clock. Next, we're moving on to the Etihad, where Manchester City welcome Brighton to the Etihad, and I've gone with a 2-2 draw here. Now, Brighton obviously come into this one in the informed team kind of category. They are in very good form right now, flying high are the Seagulls, but they always have that potential to slip up a little bit. They always have the potential to slip up a little bit, and against this Man City side especially, who have the talent to obviously get something out of anything, I do feel like City will get something out of this. It's not a foregone conclusion by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, Brighton are tough opposition for anybody, so they're going to make it tough for City. If City continue to make defensive errors, I do feel like Brighton can capitalise. But as well as that, I feel like if Pep gets his setup right, I feel like if the supply, especially into Erling Haaland, is going to be good enough, then of course City can get something from this game, at the very least a point, a win. But if Brighton set up very well defensively and they stop the supply into Haaland and they can find a way to keep the likes of Savio and Doku quiet on the wings especially, then Brighton should have no fear in going into this game and maybe not even getting a win. So there is a lot to play for in this one. Obviously, City will want to solidify themselves in the top 4 race. Brighton are well within the midst of a European football race that is extremely close right now when you look at the majority of the top half of the table. So it's going to be a very interesting battle, but it's one that I see both teams coming out with a point. Next up, Southampton against Wolves. Proper relegation battle, this one. Southampton rock bottom of the table. They are about 8 points adrift of even the second from bottom in Leicester and third from bottom in Ipswich. They definitely and desperately need points on the board with 10 games to go, whilst Wolves have a fantastic opportunity to put more distance between themselves and the bottom 3 with a win in this one. I've gone with a draw. I feel like Southampton could get something from this game. I feel like this is a bit of a banana skin for Wolves. Even though it is a favourable game for them, I just feel like Southampton can potentially get something in this. I don't know why. It's just my gut instinct. I'm not putting any rhyme or reason into this. I'm just going with what my gut told me when I first saw this fixture, when, of course, preparing for this video. So I'm going with a draw. I feel like Southampton can definitely get something from this. I feel like Matheus Cunha is still suspended for this game. Big loss there. If I had to go a winner, I'm obviously going with Wolves, but I just have a sneaky feeling that Southampton can get something from this. And of course they'll be desperate to, because even though, you know, the writing is seemingly on the wall for the Saints and that they are probably going back down to the Championship, they don't want to go down there as the side that broke Derby County's worst points tally record in a Premier League season. So they'll want something from this game to at least edge them ever closer to at least beating that record. So, yes, interesting game this one. Interesting battle. If I had to pick a winner, I'm going with Wolves to put more distance between themselves and the bottom 3. But I just have a sneaky feeling Southampton can certainly get something from this. Next up, Bournemouth against Brentford for our Saturday evening encounter. A very intriguing game, this one, that I'm very much looking forward to, that I think could go a little bit under the radar this weekend. But it's one that I'm looking forward to because, obviously, these two teams can play out a proper goal-scoring classic. And that's what I've gone for here in this 3-2 scoreline. I feel like Bournemouth, obviously, in the midst of a European race, for any kind of European football, top 4/top 5 is still very much open to them, with a couple of results here and a couple of results there. Europa League football is certainly a possibility. Europa Conference League football is probably the safety net as well for Bournemouth, maybe. in what has been a fantastic season for Andoni Iraola's side. And obviously Brentford will want to kind of spoil the party. We know that obviously on their day they can be very, very good to play against, but on their day as well, on their off day maybe, we know that they sometimes can what's the respectful way of saying this? They can be a little bit soft, so to speak, in terms of teams brushing them aside. Never quite know what you're going to get, but we do know that both of these teams are very strong on their day. So it is going to be very interesting to see how these two teams line up, how these two teams battle it out. I think Bournemouth, with the form they're in, the incentive to go for them European football places will get them across the finish line. But I'm expecting goals galore here. I really am expecting goals galore. I'm expecting a very interesting battle. I'm expecting a very, very entertaining game of football above all else. It's one that Brentford certainly can get something from this game. We have seen Bournemouth have a tendency to slip up from time to time, which is somewhat to be expected when you've gone through the kind of injury concerns that Andoni Iraola has gone through this season and Bournemouth have gone through this season. So it's not a foregone conclusion by any stretch of the imagination, but at the same time, I am very much looking forward to this game. I feel like Bournemouth can maybe get the job done in a 5-goal thriller, but again, it's not a foregone conclusion. Thomas Frank's side are very, very good, and of course they'll always have the opportunity whenever Johan Visser and Brian Mbeumo are on the pitch. Next, we're moving on to Sunday's games, and first up, we're at Craven Cottage for a London derby between Fulham and Tottenham. I've gone 2-1 Fulham here. Now, this one's going to be intriguing because at the time of recording, we don't know the outcome of Tottenham's second leg tie with AZ Alkmaar in the Europa League. If Tottenham are to go out of that competition, could that spell the end for Ange Postecoglou, or are they at least going to give him to the end of the season before making a decision? That is going to be a big question and a big concern. If obviously Ange is in charge, I feel like the extra 90 or so minutes of that game, and of course, as we know, there's the potential that there could be extra time and penalties in that encounter, may give Fulham the edge in this one, which is why I'm going to tip the scales in Fulham's favour. Not only do I think that they are a very good team under Marco Silva, again, they are in the run for European football places this season. I just think that the extra game time in the legs of those players, of course, some of them coming back from injury, Tottenham not being fully back at full strength, and obviously coming into this one in not the greatest of form, and obviously it being Tottenham, all of those factors combine to me to suggest that Fulham will be smelling blood here and they'll go in for the kill and they'll go in for the win. Of course, Tottenham playing the way that they do will always be a threat. They managed to pull off a draw last week against Bournemouth in the most bizarrest of circumstances. And good fortune circumstances, may I add. But at the same time, I just think Fulham will have enough about them to get the job done in this one. And I feel like Tottenham may still be licking their wounds from what may or may not happen in midweek. So, yeah, I'm going with Fulham to win this one. It's going to be an interesting battle, one that I'm looking forward to seeing. But of course, that is not going to be the only game to be taking place at 1:30 on a Sunday afternoon. More on that one a little later. We're moving on to 7 o'clock's as well. 7 p.m.'s game between Leicester City and Man United for our Sunday evening viewing, as the Foxes are set to battle the Red Devils. Ruud van Nistelrooy meets Manchester United once again in this short spell like he's been in charge of Leicester for. I feel like he's met them 4 times already, hasn't he? I feel like he met them in the Premier League. I swear he met them in the Carabao Cup, and I swear he met them in the FA Cup as well. I swear he's met them 3 times already in the short space that he's been at the club. He must be kind of sick of them by now. Of course, the last time that these two teams met was in the FA Cup, and it was a Harry Maguire offside goal, but of course, thanks to no VAR on the day, it wasn't obviously ruled out. So there'll be a bit of an incentive here for Leicester to get some revenge on Manchester United, as well as obviously the incentive to try and make a fight of this relegation battle. United aren't coming into this one in the best of form, but maybe that 1-1 draw with Arsenal last week will give them some sort of encouragement that maybe they can go to this kind of club and get a win. Of course, these kinds of teams have been what has been the Achilles heel for Manchester United for most part of this season. Obviously, coming off the back of a big result into a game like this, the mentality somewhat shifts. It's going to be interesting to see if United can handle that or not. Of course, United do have injury concerns of their own. So it's going to be a very intriguing battle, this one. One that Leicester may fancy their chances of getting something from, because obviously last week they were close to getting something from Chelsea. This time around, they're coming up against a United side, not in the best of form, but I'm still going to go with United. I still think they can create plenty of chances that I think eventually they will take. So I'm going 3-1 United, and I'm going with 3 points going to Ruben Amorim's side. And finally, in what I believe to be the main event of this round of Premier League fixtures, the biggest highlight of this weekend in the Premier League, of course, is a huge, major, monumental Premier League classic of a London derby. Arsenal at home at the Emirates welcome Chelsea. And I've gone 2-1 to Arsenal. There are a fair few reasons why I've gone 2-1 to Arsenal. Number one. Every time I seem to go for Arsenal in recent weeks, they seem to go against my prediction. So I'm praying and I'm hoping that I'm a bit of a jinx. So I'm hoping that by going with Arsenal to win this game, they'll actually drop more points and help Liverpool in securing the title earlier than anticipated. Fingers crossed that that is the case. But I just also think that with Chelsea's defence, Chelsea's awkward defence, the defence that is a liability, the defence that gives teams plenty of goals and opportunities, I just think that Arsenal will capitalise. And Arsenal aren't coming into this one in the best of form. They're seemingly down on their luck in the Premier League. They're seemingly shifting slowly but surely all their eggs into the Champions League basket. I know the Premier League title race is seemingly over for a lot of people, but it's not over until it's mathematically over. They will obviously know that. They've obviously made their bones about it. They've obviously said, Arteta's come out and said over his dead body, even though he stormed out of an interview last week when asked about it. Declan Rice is still kind of trying to rally the troops, so to speak, that it could still be possible. Certain Arsenal fans online are still saying it's possible. It's still possible, and of course this is going to be playing their game in hand, in which they can reduce the 15-point gap at the top of the table down to 12. So it's still possible, but we'll obviously have to wait and see, and it's obviously going to take a monumental collapse from Liverpool to obviously get that. But with Liverpool not playing in the Premier League this weekend, it's kind of it's a way of Arsenal to use that game in hand and play it to their advantage by beating Chelsea. In saying that, though, as much as Arsenal are pretty solid defensively to a point, Chelsea do have the tools that can break them down. They can break them down, they can hurt them, and of course with this being a London derby, a fierce derby, it's sort of like a level playing field. On paper, even with the injuries to the front line that Arsenal have, you probably would expect Arsenal to still win this game. But in saying all of that, it's still not a foregone conclusion. Derby is a level playing field. We saw that earlier on in the season in the Merseyside derby, for example. And Chelsea, like I said, will want to dent Arsenal's title challenge even more so than it is already somewhat dented. So with that all being said, it's entirely possible for Chelsea to get something from this game at the very least. But I just think that with Arsenal rotating in midweek, I feel like with Arsenal having the incentive to, of course, stay second place, because, of course, as I mentioned earlier, there is the potential that Nottingham Forest could go 1 point behind them this weekend, should Forest win their game, of course. And, of course, with them wanting to try and keep the title race going for as long as it possibly can, I feel like Arsenal will win this game. Mainly, though, I am going for this result purely on the basis that I hope I am a jinx to Arsenal Football Club, and that obviously it helps Liverpool to wrap up this Premier League title earlier than anticipated. But no, Arsenal to win is what I'm going for here. 2-1 to the Gunners. I feel like Chelsea's defence will give them plenty of opportunities and goals to, of course, make this happen. And there you have it. Those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of all the games that are coming up in this weekend's round of Premier League encounters? Let me know what you guys think and feel down below in the comment section. Give me your thoughts, comments, opinions, feelings, but most of all, of course, give me your predictions on how you think each and every single game will wind up this weekend. Would love to hear from you all on that. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you are new or want to see more content like this. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video / Premier League predictions video. Thank you for your continued support to the channel. Really does mean a lot to me. And I will see and speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream, or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I will see you again very, very soon.